aspect, and it's the spirit animal. I'm actually right now pulling up what I wrote about the spirit animals now. Um, the shaman has a third aspect. It is the spirit animal. Now, the spirit animals have different meanings. Okay, they can have three different jobs. They can either be the interpreter for the shaman, they can be the protection for the shaman, or they can actually be the transportation for the shaman. So, shamans, their ceremonies often show them dressed as an animal. That's their spirit animal. Their animal is going to guide them, it's going to talk to the spirits for them. And they may even ride the animal over to the other world. So, on my report that I had done, the animals actually um, had different realms where they go. So what I'm doing now is trying to see what I have wrote up on the animals and the shaman. I know it's incomplete because the rest of it will be on my site when I get done writing on the shaman. Okay, so shamans have a specific ritual that's been passed down through the immemorial time. Shamans have performed rituals as mediums to the spiritual world, and a shaman's ritual was a way to travel to the spirit world. Shamans used animals as a tool to travel to the spirit world, to talk to the spirits, to guide them, and as transportation on the journey. The ritual was a rite of passage which every shaman has to go through. It still is that way today. And in this ritual, the shaman is simulating death of his body and the carrying of his spirit over to the netherworld. Upon return, the shaman is to bring news of the other side. Okay, whether it's news of good nature or poor nature. And shamans relay a message. The animals' role in the ceremony generally they generally comply with three uses. The role is either as a spirit guide, a vehicle, or a translator for the shaman. The animal part of the shaman's ritual appears to indicate that specific animals can carry the spirit to the netherworld. Okay, so at Gobekli Tepe, hold on, let me get my. Okay, so at Gobekli Tepe, one of man's oldest shamanistic temples, shamanism is evident there, and 12,000 years have not changed its rituals. Religions have formed, waxing and waning through time, but shamanism has survived and not changed even today. It must have had a role. It is on the animals and depicted on some of the oldest cave art. Role with the shaman. The animals are symbolic of spirit gods. Some spirit guides took the shaman's soul to the netherworld, that's the below world, and some carried them the spirit to the upper portion, or the upper world, or heaven. Okay, so either way, the shaman did not make the journey by himself. He's always accompanied by his animal spirit guide. So we have the drum, we have the animal guiding them, and we have the shaman having the ability to work with both the musical rhythm, the vibration of the energies, and then you have the animal guiding his spirit over to whichever side. Some animals will take you down to the bottom world, and some animals will take you up to the spiritual, high spiritual levels. Okay, so no matter what, the shaman never made this trip alone. And since the rituals were performed by early men, there are no written records of success or failure. But what is etched into the stone is pretty self-explanatory. Before the ritual, shamans may have collected specific animals to accompany them into the desired realm. The shamans are drawn in stone surrounded by specific spirit animals. These have been that way systematically depicted all over Gobekli Tepe. So you have the same drawing of the beach man with a concentric circle and some spirit animal drawn on the vessels that they're drinking from, indicating that ceremony is still going on. Um, the shamans are drawn in stone surrounded by specific animals. And this has been this way systematically over time. And they did that to let the future generations see how it's done, no doubt. Um, Once the shaman has the spiritual calling to become a shaman, he or she may have a permanent spirit guide or companion, which I do. It would be an owl for me. The actual relationship to the animals and the shaman are not written, so you don't know whether they were and the shaman are not written, so you don't know whether they were their guide, their transportation, or their works, or maybe all three. You don't know exactly, but they are depicted. However, the shaman rituals seem to show certain standardized text or drawings, such as the shaman's standard wore headpieces of some sort that made their head longer, and they often would have a garment would indicate an animal helmet, such as a turtle shell over the skull, or the body of the bird over the head. So they had headdresses and animal decorations, such as a bird or a reptile or a fish or a dog or bison. And these various headdresses were depicted on the shaman. However, some specific animals seem to be used through the region for shamanic purposes. So, like, if I have snakes, I'm going to the underworld. If I have birds, I'm going to the upper world. Okay, so since animals, I'm going to the upper world. Okay, so since animals have been emphasized in temples throughout the Holocene, that is right after the Ice Age, and in northern Mesopotamia, right outside the Garden of Eden, research has labeled them as a specific part of the ceremony. The animals are a specific part. And ethnoarchaeological studies indicate the use of animals being separated into different categories. After a study of 25 groups and subgroups of shamanic tribes from central and northern France, Eurasia, the Americas, and Indonesia, a list of spiritual animals was composed. The list was not all inclusive, but it's a reference. The quantitative analysis showed trends within the shaman's rituals. And the ancient and modern animals were divided into two categories mentioned: the heaven and the underworld. We talked about that. And with the earth being on its own realm, so there's three realms. You got the earth's on its own realm, then you got the underworld, and then you got the heaven. So there's three realms involved, three-dimensional. And also the spirit world, or the spirit guide animals, often show two trending categories: alter ego and supportive spirits. Some of them were not friendly. Um, with alter ego not necessarily being negative, um, with alter ego not necessarily being negative, but not being on your side either. The list below is just a small reflection of the report and has been minimized, but not being on your side either. The list below is just a small reflection of the report and has been minimized for the further research of the person who is researching this. If you want, I've minimized the list. I've made it small, but you can go to the Journal of Ritualistic Studies for 2019 or 2015 and find this whole thing about the animals being categorized, okay? So that's where I got the information from, and I wrote a really short list compared to what they had. The heavenly animals associated with the spirit and the systematic trim was as follows. The upper world animals are eagles, reindeer, dragonflies, the cuckoo bird, the swallow. Um, Alter ego spirits was the raven, the tiger, the bear, the dragonfly, the bee, the wasp. Supporting animals, spirit animals with horses, birds, large waterfowl. They give you rise. And the supporting spirits of the underworld included snakes or frogs. Believe it or not, they give you rise. And the supporting spirits of the underworld included snakes or frogs. Believe it or not, snakes were supported for the underworld, and so are frogs supporting in the underworld. So not even listed as a bad guy. Waterfowl were given special reference because they could do dual access to the underworld and to the water world and to the upper realm. So the waterfowl like geese, pelicans and stuff, they can carry spirit really far. So if you have one of those, it's a blessing. You can go underwater, carry spirit really far. So if you have one of those, it's a blessing. You can go underwater and you can also go underground. And, I mean, you can do more with that one. Me, I have just one, and that's the upper realm. So, okay, so the underworld spirit guides were depicted with more aggressive features that go back to Tempe. The creatures that had the snarling faces that looked like they wanted to bite you, and lethal expressions on their face like gators and all that stuff was the headhunters. Their spirit guides were vicious animals, scorpions to sting you and stuff like that. So the ones that had the harsh looking drawings, that were the headhunters, the harder shamans, and then the ones who represented a more lifelike or were not headhunters were maybe healers and stuff. They were using a different set of animals, so there was already a system set up. For example, go back to Tempe with the headhunters. They had, all of them had their teeth out and their claws out, and that was their claws out, and that was the more intimidating stance because they were going to the underworld. Okay, now foxes are listed as underworld. Weasels, pikes, seagulls. Don't get confused. Seagulls is for the underworld. So read the list, and I'm going to say it again. It's in the Journal of Ritualistic Studies. So martins, spiders, underworld. Otters, underworld. Beavers, moose. And it's dated for dated for 20. It's dated for 20. I have to look again. It's dated. I'll get to that date. 2015. So foxes and stuff. So foxes and stuff were listed as spirits that come with nicotine. So foxes and stuff are listed as spirits that come with sickness too. Okay, now the ritual scene. I'm going to tell you about this right here. Listen to this. It's just a story. It's just a story. This is not a true story, but listen. Okay? Creepy things creep. Skittly things skittle. There's a huge gathering, and a shaman's in the middle. He stands in a ring of torches. He's awash with the glow of the flames. He is surrounded by his family and friends and peers, and off to the side the drummer is beating a steady rhythmic drum. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. He sways to the rhythm. The shaman headdresses an owl. The huge intact talons grip his jugular vein with a death grip. His ceremonial outfit consists of several snake skins draping over his arms, a huge group of concentric circles drawn on his chest with some red paint, and he's not wearing anything else for the ceremony besides those skins, that red paint, and that headdress. He has been captured and ensnared in the owl's talons, and he's that snake that has been caught and killed to be carried to the underworld. It's a very exciting scene. Um, his body has been tattooed with shamanic symbols everywhere. And he is fevered and disoriented, and he has a patient there. I'm sorry, his patient is fevered and disoriented and painted in body paint that the shaman is putting the shamanic symbols of healing on him. And the shaman raises a tortoiseshell vessel and slowly pours this liquid into his mouth. Oh, but the last drop he puts in his own mouth. He begins to gyrate up and down. He's jerking and he's calling and he's looking and he's making moves and he's doing a lot. Okay, suddenly he grabs a knife. He dips it in the fire. He goes over to the sick man. He cuts a gash just above a break in the man's arm. And then he opens the man's arm up. He pushes the bone back in place. He wraps a piece of leather around it best he can. He closes the man's arm up. He sews him. And then he starts gyrating. And then he starts gyrating and immediately passes out as well. When he comes back to, the women in the village have wrapped the man's wound up. And he's sitting there being bathed and ushered away for food. Um, and he looks over to his right and he sees that soldier sitting there. And he's doing well. He's wrapped up, bandaged and everything. And, after passing out off of the drugs he gave that guy, he still has another one to do tonight. So I think a shaman's work will never be done if he was in a village. That was just an idea of how shamanism may have actually worked, rather than a savage just running in with blood all over himself, jumping around, drinking ayahuasca. They're not portraying shamans in the right way. And I just wanted to say that, sometimes that stuff was a way to knock that person out. And I saw a report where they had a shaman and they wanted to say that everybody in his village had ringworms. I was happy. I was happy that's all they had. That's all they had. After 15,000 years, all they got is some ringworms. Their arms were straight, their limbs were straight, their teeth were straight. It was wonderful. So I'm not going to give up on the shamans. So I just wanted you to know that's what I'm working on. And animals appear to be the guides for all going to the other side. They play a role for you, a protection role, a vehicle role. So when you're out there freebasing, talking about you want to go on the other side, you ain't got no mask so you can be followed home with these spirits. You ain't got no animal to carry you either way. You ain't got no mask so you can be followed home with these spirits. You ain't got no animal to carry you either way. You going up or down. You have no vehicle. You are stuck there on foot. And you don't have a drum to do the vibrational transition. So if you doing this kind of stuff and then you claiming yourself reaching somebody, I don't know who you reaching. Because you ain't even doing the right stuff, and that's a fact. I'm just saying that. I'm not here to criticize you. I'm telling you the master to protect you so the demons can't follow you back. The drum, the vibrations from it. The vibrations from the drum flow. They carry your energy, your spirit energy. If you're low spirit energy, you're sitting there talking about you want to fly and do all this. You want to go here, you want to go there without the drum. Where are you really going? Because that vibration clicks in with your vibration and it takes you where you want to go if that's where you want to go. So I just want that vibration. That vibration clicks in with your vibration and it takes you where you want to go if that's where you want to go. So I just want to run this with y'all and that vibration clicks in with your vibration and it takes you where you want to go if that's where you want to go. So I just wanted to run this with y'all and see y'all and tell you every time I get a chance I'm gonna come on. But I have a sewing and alteration shop, a RV. I have stuff I do too. And TikTok is very demanding. So if I can only give you 20 minutes, that's what I have. And I made a point a long time ago not to put my real life on TikTok. All they'll have is my facial